Hi guys and gals, Greg Howe, S9 Radio. Thanks for tuning in and tagging along. This really isn't a review, nor is it a restoration. A friend of mine had a chance to grab this at a CB radio break for relatively inexpensive. I think he paid 20 bucks for this ROBYN T-123b, and I had been pimping vacuum tube radios to him for quite some time, just how wonderful the receive is and noise free and whatnot. So anyways, he grabbed this. He's got several radios. He did not want to put any real money into restoration. He basically just wanted to see if I could make it work, because it was DOA, and I was able to do that. As with any vacuum tube radio and the high voltage capacitors, restoration is never cheap, and the high voltage capacitors are an absolute must. However, this ROBYN T-123b is built on a Panasonic chassis, like so many other early 70s Japanese CB radios. And knowing that, and also having a ROBYN T-123b late model myself, I was able to say, well, Panasonic was at the top of their game when these were produced. As a matter of fact, they were the world's largest manufacturer of consumer electronics. Don't quote me on this, but I believe it was from 1967 right up until about when this radio was built, early 70s. So consequently, the components in this thing are excellent. They've got some oil-filled capacitors. Yes, they seep a little. That is completely normal. But on a whole, when many radios approaching a half-century old would absolutely have signs of aging, deteriorating high-voltage electrolytic capacitors spewing their guts out, blowing rectifiers and fuses and whatnot, I have not seen that on these Panasonic chassis. So I told them, hey, let's just get the thing running. You're not going to be using it as a daily driver. If you are, well, let's go through the paces and, bite the bullet and put some new caps in and whatnot. But if you're not, let it sit up on the shelf. I'll try to get it working for you, and we'll go from there. Okay, Ray, here is the ROBYN 123b vacuum tube radio. Immediately, no big surprise that it's not working. It's been golden screwdriver. They put some trimmers on here and remoted the crystals of the back and a hokey switch, and probably put another mixer crystal in to bring it above channel 23 to try to get a little more than 23 and maybe even 40 channels out. I don't know. I'm tearing it all out. The radio's got problems. This nonsense here will lower the drive. These crystals barely put out anything at all. And wire length is critical. And yeah, this is just stupid. So that is what I'm seeing right now. I also saw evidence that somebody got in there with what looked like WD-40. I've had to clean this channel switch. Of course, this arrived DOA. I've got it working now. This channel switch was so gunked, it looked like a big dust bunny. And then I can see somebody's been in here goofing around. The light bulbs have been changed, it looks like. That's a good indication this radio is high mileage. When the factory bulbs have burned out, that's usually 2,000 to 4,000 hours burn time to do that. So yeah, a little bit of mileage on this. Okay, I've pulled all the hacks, removed this switch from back here, torn out all that bogus wiring, put all the crystals back in where they go, and listen to this. Got a signal generator. Just by putting pressure on here. Either got a bad soldering connection, a bad ground, and the signal generator's on channel 11. This is on channel 14. I'm guessing the crystal assignment on this might be different, as the pinout from the crystal sockets to the actual rotary switch is different than this bone stock one here. And the selector switch has been deoxed several times now, so it's got some issues. Okay, Ray, I think everything's warmed up. How copy?
I mean, you know, it doesn't have a whole lot of audio, but it sounds clear.
Okay, I've got you got a hair trigger on this preamp mic. I can turn it up a little more. I don't know. Is that too much? I'm using the static microphone right now.
No, that sounds a lot better. That sounds a lot better. Wiki whack on the ROBYN radio. Yeah, sounds pretty good, man. Not bad.
Okay, I can go up higher on the mic end. I just don't want it to squeal there. I bumped it up a little higher. Let's see, what do I want to tell you about this? Oh, okay. So anyways, all your tubes are original. I'm trying to remember. It's been so long. I might have replaced one. I'll have to look at the worksheet. But I wasn't able to do much alignment. They put like a paint, kind of a locking compound on all the tuning slugs. And it's a fair amount of work to dissolve that. And being as you didn't want to dump a bunch of money in here, I've just basically, you've just got a box stock radio. I tore all that channel expansion modification nonsense out of there. I found a bad resistor on the bottom side, replaced that, and she's back 100% box stock.
Yeah, so turn the audio down just a little bit.
Okay, sorry about that. Let's see. Oh yeah, this has got a range boost feature. Let me turn that off. That bumps up the audio normally. That's range boost off, and that's with the range boost on.
And what's the model number of that ROBYN radio?
It's a 123b. A 123b is in Baker, and you have an early model 123. I've got a later model 123b. They changed the channel selector and a few things around on it. Same circuit design, just a few electrical interior changes.
10-4, well, sounds good. Sounds good. I don't know why they would seal those so that you can't adjust them. That kind of doesn't make sense unless they vibrate loose or something, and that's why they did it.
That's exactly why they did it. It was real common to put a drip of beeswax on some of them. For some reason, they used a material, it's a lot like paint. And you can get in there with a little eyedropper and dissolve it with lacquer thinner. But like I say, there's a fair amount of work. I know you're probably just going to have this radio up on the shelf. But, you know, if you use it and you decide, hey, I love this thing, it's got a beautiful receiver, we can always go back and address that. Being as you have all the original tubes, it probably doesn't really need much of an alignment. It's usually when you replace the tubes, you want to align the radio to the tubes. So you're probably pretty dead on without doing anything.
Right on, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah, it will be a display radio, but I didn't want it to sit there and not work. So audio check 1, 2, 3, ABC. 1, 2, 3, ABC. Audio check on the ROBYN radio from the Longhorn to the ROBYN, Orange County, California to Big Bear Mountain. Audio check.
Oh, you're sounding beautiful, Ray. I've got a little bit of static. What do we have? 63 miles between us, so not bad. On my ROBYN 123, I probably tried 10 different microphones, and the one that the folks liked the best was the Silver Eagle D104, amplified D104. So, all right, well, I'm glad we got this radio check out of the way. I'll go ahead and wrap up your video and send it to you. Put the covers on your radio. We'll just call it a done deal. Like I say, as you'll see in the video, most of the work was just tearing out the golden screwdriver channel expansion modification. And like I say, I think I found a burned out resistor, but it didn't take much to bring this 50-year-old radio back into service. What? You say you're disappointed I didn't do a little more detailed review of the 11-tube ROBYN T-123b Japanese transceiver? Well, fear not and stay tuned, as I'm going to do a deep performance dive of both the ROBYN T-123b and what I consider a very close relative, the American-made Courier Royale. And as you can see, there are some similarities on the exterior as far as control, meter and speaker placement. And the same thing holds true on the interior with the chassis layout and the tube configuration being almost identical. So now I guess the big question is, did the Japanese ROBYN copy the American-made predecessor, which would be the Courier Royale? I honestly don't know. I wouldn't put them past them, but anyway, stay tuned. I'm going to do a comparison review, and we'll look at the similarities, the differences, and I'm sure some of you are probably interested in the performance, how they stack up on the watt meter, audio output, and whatnot. And I can honestly say I have not done a comparison test, but the tube configuration, as far as the modulator tube and the RF output final, are identical. So I'm not expecting any huge differences, but there are some differences. The ROBYN T-123b is an instant on radio. In other words, the tube's filaments are partially lit when the radio is turned off, but the radio needs to be plugged in to enable that instant on feature. I can also say the Courier Royale probably has the smoothest squelch transition of any 11 meter transceiver I've ever used. In other words, it kind of magically comes in and out. You don't hear any popping or clicking or any sense that the squelch is even engaged or disabled. They're both very quiet, wonderful vacuum tube transceivers. So anyway, stay tuned. 73, Greg Howe, S9 Radio.